Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Today on The Young and the Restless, Ashley returns home. Tracy lights a stick of dynamite and Lauren doesn't believe Phyllis. All products and services featured are independently chosen by editors. However, soaps.com may receive a commission on orders placed through its retail links, and the retailer may receive certain auditable data for accounting purposes. At the new/old ranch, Victor watches Nikki play the piano. He asks how it feels to play there. She says, "Magical." Nikki concludes her song and Victor says, "So beautiful." The music too. Nikki smiles and says he's still quite the romantic, and he can still surprise her. Victor hopes that never stops. Nikki can't understand how he got this house built without her knowing. It was an amazing secret. They embrace and then sit. Now, we're hosting a wedding. Nikki starts fraying, but Victor says she doesn't have to lift a finger. A wedding is the perfect way to christen a new home. New beginnings. At the Abbott mansion, Abby paces and tells Tracy they should be here by now. Tracy urges her to try and relax. Outside, Jack arrives with Ashley. He asks if she's nervous. She says a little bit, or maybe a little bit more than that. Jack reassures her. "You're home now." She loves the sound of that. Jack has a favor to ask. Can they not talk about his situation with Diane and Kyle? Ashley won't say anything. He asks, "Are you ready?" She's more than ready. They go inside, where Abby enthusiastically greets her mom, followed by Tracy, who says they're so proud of her. Ashley feels really good and is getting back to herself, the healthy version. Ash asks Abby if she's excited about the wedding. She's ready to pitch in. "Where are you getting married?" Abby tells her she's not going to believe this. After she's told, she can't believe Victor rebuilt the ranch. She agrees to go with Abby and check it out later. Jack is fine with it. But don't bother saying hello from me. Alan comes in and hugs Ashley. They go over him moving in. Alan wants to be sure she's comfortable with it. Ashley says she wouldn't be there if not for him. The clinic saved her life. She approves of his relationship with Tracy. "I'm happy for both of you." Tracy gushes. She doesn't know if she's ever been happier. At Crimson Lights, Phyllis walks in and approaches Sharon and asks, "Aren't you going to run away?" Sharon asks what she wants. She wants her to admit her guilt. Sharon's sure in her sick mind she actually believes that. Phyllis says it's not just her anymore. Other people saw her run from the service. Sharon says no one is listening to her, not even the police. Phyllis says they'll listen to her soon. She'll keep pounding her until she comes clean. Sharon thinks she should accept that Daniel is guilty. Phyllis says there's no way in hell that he's guilty, and she knows it. "I have proof." Nick walks in as this goes down. Sharon tells Phyllis to get out of there and threatens to call the police. Phyllis tells her to go ahead. Nick intervenes. Phyllis insists she has proof. Sharon says, "You can't prove anything." Phyllis tells her she did some digging, and Sharon's not as good at hiding things as she thinks. "When you killed Heather as cold blood, you were a little clumsy at hiding the evidence." The redhead reminds Sharon she gave her a chance to come clean. When the police are asking questions, don't say I didn't warn you. With that, she walks out. At the club, Daniel and Christine discuss Lucy over breakfast. She's distracted, but it still hits her at night. It does him too. "I just miss her so much." Christine is so sorry. Daniel says he was standing at Heather's grave and said he missed her, but he didn't tell her about the charges, like he was trying to keep her from worrying about him. It made him feel better just being there with her, like the calm before the storm. Chris asks if he noticed how Sharon was acting. She thought it was odd. She just seemed scared, really scared. Daniel's not surprised Sharon was scared given how Phyllis was acting. They both told her she needs to stop, but it's easier said than done. Chris admits that just because it's Phyllis, that doesn't mean she's not onto something about Sharon. Daniel's surprised. Chris says it's the way she's been acting. Even at the funeral yesterday, she acts like a guilty person. People are saying she's suffering from serious mental health issues. She can't take a vibe to court, but when you add her behavior to her being the last person to see Heather alive, and a mountain of evidence showing up just in time for the police to see it. Look, all I'm saying is don't discount the idea that Sharon's involved just because you think Phyllis is on some crazy crusade. She might actually have it right this time. Daniel doesn't know what's crazier, Christine and Phyllis agreeing on anything, or both of them thinking Sharon's capable of murder. Christine is just saying it's worth investigating. Daniel feels she didn't have motive. Christine reminds him she went after Heather and Lucy. It brought her back to the worst day of her life when they didn't leave town. Daniel asks if she thinks this is some kind of messed up revenge for Cassie. Chris thinks that's more plausible than him being guilty. It's not that big of a leap. Daniel says that would be diabolical. It would mean Sharon planned it. At Crimson Lights, Nick and Sharon talk about Phyllis' unwillingness to back off. Sharon is sure she won't let go of this. Nick says no one should be dealing with this. Sharon knows this can't be easy for him, but Phyllis is lying. Nick marvels. She sounds so sure about it. Cameron pops up and warns Sharon to be careful what she says, because Nick is starting to doubt her. Nick asks Sharon why she's not looking at him. Cameron tells Sharon they don't have time for this. Get rid of this guy. Nick snaps his fingers in front of her face. She tells him he's making her nervous and complains that Phyllis needs a scapegoat. She won't stop until she gets what she wants. She might even manufacture evidence. Cameron says, "Perfect." Sharon turns to look at him. Nick follows her eyes and frowns. Sharon gets up and tells Nick she wants to warn Chance that Phyllis might try to fabricate evidence. Nick thinks that will make her look guilty. He will deal with Phyllis. Sharon hugs him. Nick exits, and Cameron sidles over and leans on the counter. He warns that no matter how loyal she thinks Nick is, Phyllis can be very persuasive. This problem isn't going away, unless you make it go away. At the ranch, Victor and Nikki greet Ashley and tell her how happy they are that she's there. Ashley says Abby was her motivation. Victor invites her in to see their new abode. Ashley says it's stunning. You've completely outdone yourself. They marvel that Nikki didn't know a thing until he brought her there last night. Nikki says they have a wedding to plan, and Victor surrenders to letting them implement their ideas. He gets a text and says he has to deal with this. Victor enters his office, where Jill tells him he should know by now that she doesn't like to be kept waiting. Victor asks what kind of greeting is that. They share a laugh and talk about the wedding. Victor says it will be a party to remember. Jill tells him enough chit-chat. He wanted to talk to her, and she assumes it's about Chancellor. She knows he has his eye on her company, and might even be planning to steal it out from under her given Billy's temporary mismanagement. Victor thinks it's more than that. He's surprised that a woman of her business savvy would think Billy could run the company. Jill guesses he's forgotten about all of Adam's blunders, or his own children trying to push him out. Victor says, hardly a comparison. Jill wants to cut to the chase. What do you want? Victor grins. That's the Jill I know. At the Abbott house, Jack, Tracy, and Alan talk about how good Ashley looked. Alan says the doctors think she's had a remarkable recovery. I think she's back. More importantly, she does too. Tracy mentions she'll be bringing Alan to the wedding as her +1. Jack says he's practically family now. Tracy wants to talk to Jack about something and brings up Kyle and Diane. Jack doesn't want to discuss it. He's moving on. Tracy warns it's escalating. This is not good. Phyllis walks into society to meet Lauren, who says she looks like she's about to explode. She saw her get into it with Sharon at the service and asks what's going on. Phyllis says Sharon killed Heather and framed Daniel. No one believes her, but she knows in her gut that she's guilty. Lauren asks Phyllis why she thinks Sharon was involved in Heather's death. Phyllis says not involved, she did it. Lauren learns she told Michael this and asks her to tell her why she thinks she did this. Phyllis says Sharon has always hated Daniel because of what happened to Cassie. The accident with Lucy and Faith put her over the edge. She began attacking Heather and Lucy and told Daniel to leave town. Lauren says that's a long way from murder. Phyllis says she's off and on her bipolar meds and is just disturbed these days. Lauren says that's not proof. Phyllis adds that Sharon was the last one to see Heather before she died. She kept that information to herself and then told the police a ridiculous story about Heather confiding in her about fighting with Daniel. She thinks the police are lazy. The evidence was thrown in their lap, and Sharon was behind that too. Lauren thinks Phyllis is a scared mom trying to protect her son. I would do the same thing, she assures. No matter how disturbed Sharon has been, it doesn't make sense for her to have killed Heather and framed Daniel. This makes Phyllis feel alone. She doesn't understand why everyone thinks Sharon is a saint. She pushed her down a set of stairs and left her to die. She is 100% capable of murder. Sharon enters the club, spots Daniel and Christine at their table, and then makes her way upstairs. In Victor's office, He wants Jill to admit that Billy sent Chancellor into a nosedive. Jill is handling it. Victor says they both know he can't cut it. Are you willing to risk Catherine's legacy because of the pride of a mother? Jill says, no, I'm not. If Billy's not up to the job, she'll fire him and reinstate Lily. So you see, Victor, there's no problem. Victor says, yes, there is. That would be a mistake. At the Abbott mansion, Jack and Tracy debate whether or not to talk about Diane. Alan intervenes and suggests Jack hear his sister out. Tracy says she overheard Kyle talking on the phone to someone that Diane is trying to undermine him at his new company. She warns that she's not working alone. Diane has enlisted Victor as her ally. Jack gets up and storms out the door. Tracy exclaims, oh no, she feels like she just lit a stick of dynamite. In Victor's office, Jill asks why it would be a mistake to put Lily back in charge. Victor says she belongs with her family in their business. That's why she proposed the merger in the first place. She wants to work with Devin and Nate, and that's what Neil would have wanted her to do. Catherine would have advised her to do the same thing. So let's make a deal. At Society, Lauren tells Phyllis that she wouldn't be her best friend if she didn't tell her she's grasping at straws. She has to let it go. Nick appears and couldn't agree more. It's gone way too far. At the club, Sharon lets herself into Phyllis' suite with a key from the maid's cart. She looks at the framed photos of her and Daniel and closes the door. Next on The Young and the Restless, Victor and Jill settle unfinished business. Lily keeps Billy on his toes, and Phyllis sets a trap for Sharon.